In the almost 30 years of its existence, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise has created some pretty memorable villains, like the big bad main villain Dr. Sunnyside Up himself, to Aquafina, to Robo Hedgehog, to Edgy Hedgehog, to Edgier Hedgehog, to even Edgier Jackal. So when a new villain gets introduced, they usually have some competition in their respective franchise, and that means they each need to have something memorable. Some can be incredibly entertaining to watch, some can be cool and threatening without even speaking a single word, and some can straight up kill the protagonist. But what happens when a villain or villains get introduced, and they do none of these things? Introducing Zavok and the Deadly Six. The Deadly Six were introduced in the Nintendo console exclusive Sonic Lost World, or as it's also known, Mario Galaxy, but not as good. The Deadly Six, or the Six as I'm gonna refer to them from now on for simplicity's sake, are members of a race called Zeti, colorful beings who for some reason have the ability to control technology and bend it to their will, because that's definitely a power you would assume they have going off of their designs. Each of the Zeti possess a strong character trait that makes them stand out from the rest of the bunch. We have incredibly original ideas, like the crazy one, the fat slob, the small wise master, a girl, an emo, and the leader. Now, the Zeti are not the side villains of the game, even though they kinda are, but are actually bumped up pretty early in the story to the main threat, and when Sonic does an epic goof, and the Zeti take control of Eggman's badniks with their totally logical power, Eggman and Sonic are forced to work together to put a stop to their evil plan of draining the life out of the world below the Lost Hex so that they grow stronger. Now, on first glance, that's not a bad setup. The new villains outperform the main bad guy and hero and force them to work together to be able to stop them, all the while even getting close multiple times to actually killing them. However, the Six, and especially Zavok, yes, I'm calling him Zavok and not Zavok, because that sounds fucking stupid, fail in execution because of one major thing. They never rise above anything except their one distinct trait. Each member of the Six performs their one and only character trait and don't get anything else to their personality, which not only makes them boring, it makes them forgettable. Now, you might be saying, Pyro, but what about villains like Metal Sonic, Chaos, or Mephiles? Two of them don't even speak and one is just an evil guy. Yeah, but the reason they actually leave an impact is through memorable boss fights, clear progression throughout the entire game, memorable design, and actions that actually impact the game and story. For example, let's compare the Six to Metal Sonic. Unlike the Six, Metal Sonic does not have the ability to verbally communicate, except when he becomes Neo Metal Sonic. Oh god, no, please don't start this cutscene, this video is gonna be long enough as it is, no! And yet, Metal gives off the strong impression of a ruthless, emotionless killing machine that will stop at nothing to complete its objective. Metal has had multiple boss fights in different games, and most of them have a cool idea, or heck, even new form that show a new way of him posing a challenge and threat to Sonic and his friends. Contrast that to the Six, and honestly none of them have an interesting idea that isn't a single, simple gimmick or is inspired by another boss. Design-wise, Metal is simple but perfect at the same time, and his name says exactly what he is. Someone with Sonic's abilities but without any emotions or attachments. And even when he's done a decision that could be seen as good, it's always in the context of it benefiting him, Eggman, or out of some personal mindset, but never to act out of actual heroism. None of the Six come even close to this with boring and basic designs, forgettable boss fights, and the simple goal of obtaining more power, which is something that many villains have, sure, but when you have nothing else, you end up with a bunch of nothing, and that's what the Six are. Nothing. Now, I've mostly been speaking about the Six in general, but what I wanted to specifically touch on in this video is Zavok, the leader of the Deadly Six. Zavok does not amount to a lot. He's big, has some basic evil or mean-looking design choices, and is the de facto face of the Six. But Sonic Team's idea of a threatening villain and leader is just having him stand around and spout evilish dialogue at the heroes and have him roar a bunch. That's boring. And when the guy that you kinda took inspiration from, who barely ever gets to talk, is a million times more interesting and fun than your villain, who actually has voice dialogue in all his portrayals, you know you're doing something wrong. So after Lost World came and went, the next time we would see Zavok, and Zaz for some reason, would be in the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games spin-offs. Now, I don't want to talk about this too much, because, well, it's just a sports spin-off, and him being a special opponent you can face, and Zaz for some reason, isn't really that big of a deal. Anyone could have filled this function, but it happened to be Zavok, but his next appearance is something that I really want to talk about. Now, when Sonic Forces was announced, there was a lot of speculation about what the deal was with the story. classic Sonic returning and the Avatar character, the world is in ruin, and we got a big announcement at E3 when we got a trailer that showed off the villain roster of the game, and we saw this. Now, I was both hyped and kinda confused when I saw this, not only because of the reveal of Infinite, who definitely had my brain spinning about what interesting backstory he could have, but also with this shot of the villains. First off, we see the small tease of Shadow's shoe, which would immediately make every Sonic fan sit up straight in their seat, but then we see that not only is Shadow on the villain side, but he's not alone. Chaos, who we hadn't seen since Sonic Generations, but even then that was because of time travel shenanigans and not purely through the normal time progression of the story, Metal Sonic, because of course he would be here, and Zavok. Sonic Team decided to put Zavok, their forgettable one-note villain, next to 3 of the most popular antagonists in Sonic's history. Now, seeing this made me go, huh? Because the last time we saw Zavok was him defeated on Lost X, and now he's seemingly working for Eggman, without the rest of the 6, even though I'd say that's a blessing in disguise. Then we got the story cutscene of the villain squad kicking the crap out of Sonic, where Zavok, funnily enough, is the only one to get hit from the bad guys. So okay, they're bringing Zavok back. They didn't nail it the first time, so maybe they'll have looked at the response from Lost World and made some adjustments to his character to improve him. Right? Right? When Forces launched, I eagerly anticipated the roles that each of the villains would play and how their boss fights would be. This is Zavok's role in the story. Zavok is stationed on the Death Egg base, seemingly guarding Sonic, when we, as the Avatar, move through the prison cells to free him. Sonic is just sitting on a bench, twirling his thumbs, and then Zavok walks in.
This is the end, Sonic.
Oh hey, sounds like the party started. Wanna let me go and join in? No? Of course not. You hate fun. Whoa. Oh, wow. The end, huh? Let's see you try something now that I'm free.
Foolish hedgehog. Getting out of your chains does not make you free. Now, come.
Great to see that Zavok's dialogue is as bad as ever. No, seriously, why do they think that having Zavok speak in big words and making these grandiose statements of pain and suffering make him sound intimidating? So, Zavok seemingly releases Sonic to finish him and is gonna try to fight him instead of keeping him captured or incapacitated and then just finishing him off. I get that maybe he wants to win honorably and prove that he can beat Sonic fairly by himself, but even then this entire sequence is so fucking stupid. So Zavok's boss fight starts, and why is he on a bee? Really, what does that have to do with Zavok's personality? In Lost World, Zavok rode on a long dragon machine and turned giant and breathed fireballs, and now they have him ride on a giant robotic bee that shoots lasers? Why didn't they have him ride like a dragon warden robot, and once you took that out, he would drop down into the open space around the stage, turn giant and try to squish you? So after a boss fight where you literally have to do nothing to get boosted up in the air to attack him, and Sonic finishes Zavok off with an ultra combo. What? Seriously, that's it? That's his boss fight? Him running on a bee? What the fuck? Oh, and after the bad boss fight, Zavok gets an asthma attack and fucking dies. I'm not kidding, Zavok does not reappear until right at the end, where by that point we found out that all the villains are illusions, not the real ones, so we beat up a virtual double of a villain, and I couldn't even spot a single difference in personality in comparison to something like the Shadow Double, which really goes to show how badly written Zavok is. So during the final battle there are a crap ton of duplicates of Zavok and the other villains who are supposed to be as strong as the original ones, and yet get absolutely destroyed in battle. Honestly, I can't even say that the real Zavok would have done better. After a disappointing first appearance and an even worse second showing, Zavok's most recent game appearance as of this time is in the racing spin-off Team Sonic Racing. When Team Sonic Racing was being shown off, it was made clear that the characters would be divided up into teams. These teams consisted of speed, skill, and power, similar to Sonic Heroes. With the knowledge that there were going to be 5 teams with a total of 15 characters at launch, and Eggman being a part of the roster would raise the question of who are his teammates. Eggman was initially shown off with 2 egg pawns on his team, but it was confirmed that these were just temporary stand-ins and that was not going to be the case at launch. With Eggman being a skill type character, that leaves speed and power. So just thinking about it, who would be villains that would work with old Baldy Noser and not have a problem with that? First off, we got Metal Sonic filling in the speed role, which makes complete sense. So imagine my surprise when Zavok was shown to be the power character for Team Eggman. Around the time, I could kinda see some logic in it, but with the knowledge that there was a sort of story mode, I was interested to see how they would explain why Zavok would work with Eggman, especially when the last time we saw Zavok, actually Zavok, was in Lost World after being defeated by Sonic and after having betrayed Eggman, since in Forces, Zavok was an illusion created by the Phantom Ruby. The answer? They didn't really. In the story, Zavok joins the roster at around the third half, where apparently he was hired by Eggman to observe and find something for him, which turned out to be the special engine that Dodonpa had created. So first off, we're supposed to believe that Zavok would willingly work for and be hired by Eggman to retrieve something for him after what went down in Lost World. Now, sure, maybe Zavok could be enticed to with the promise of interfering with Sonic, but still that barely would explain why he would work with the guy who controlled and enslaved him and the rest of the six with a magic conch. The one thing I can note is that his voice was changed from Travis Willingham to Patrick Seitz, and while I don't really feel like one does a better job than the other, I simply cannot deny my bias towards Senpai Seitz. So after all this, after 2 mainline games, a racing spin-off, and entries in the sports spin-off games, what do we have? A boring villain with dumb dialogue and no actions to back his credibility up. If only there was a medium where not only Zavok and the rest of the 6 are portrayed as intelligent, but also as threatening and powerful. In the IDW comics, who you should check out, they're pretty fucking good, near the end of the Metal Virus arc, Dr. Starline, Dr. Eggman's protege and assistant, calls upon the Deadly Six's aid to help control the Zombots that Eggman unleashed. Starline, being the smart character he is, has the conch from Lost World as a backup if they try to double-cross him. Zavok and the rest of the 6 of course plan on doing so, but when they arrive on Eggman's spaceship, Starline tries to control them, and even with this backup plan, the 6 immediately take control of the conch, the spaceship, and the Zombots. These 6 idiots immediately take control of Eggman's entire operation and start conquering the entire planet. They each take a Chaos Emerald, split up, and start causing chaos. The heroes devise a plan to split up in groups and each take on a member of the 6. In the comics, each of the 6 are framed as a significant threat, but unlike the games, they don't just tell you, they actually show you. Espio tries to sneak up on Zaz but gets found out immediately and has to quickly dash around him to steal the emerald. Zalmom is invulnerable to everything Tails and Amy throw at him and try to do, and not only that, he chases them around, crushing buildings in his wake, and they have to drop an armored defense gate on him to trap him. Zik easily outsmarts the Babylon rogues and surrounds them, and it's only cause Jet got a lucky hit in that they took him down. Serena forced Gemerald to fight Cream and got her infected with the virus, until Gemerald whipped her around in one of the best panels in the comics. Zor tricks Silver and almost gets him infected, until Whisper is able to snipe him down, and finally, Zavok does get taken down with a spaceship, but is he defeated? No! He grows to enormous size and starts scooping up and throwing hordes of Zombots at the good guys, infecting everyone. Sonic and Silver are barely able to turn super and drain the metal virus out of the world and transport it into the sun. And it doesn't stop there. In the continuation spin-off comic series Bad Guys, Zavok makes a deal with Starline and works with him and the other villains. Starline thinks he has everyone outsmarted and he's simply going to use all of the other villains for his plan and then discard them. But Zavok is not only able to outsmart and double-cross Starline again, but is also able to cause doubt in him and almost take power over one of Eggman's bases. Wow. Just wow. The IDW team were able to take this bunch of absolute jokes for villains and turn them into actual, credible threats that almost conquered the entire planet, and most important of all, they gave Zavok the development and character he needed. At the end of the day, Zavok and the Deadly Six are underdeveloped, boring, bland, and one-dimensional villains, and yet Sonic Team keeps pushing Zavok. And the hard truth is, they can push him as much as they want, but as long as they don't bother actually developing and improving him, Zavok is always just gonna be that Red Devil guy from Lost World who keeps showing up. But stuff like the IDW comics show that the Deadly Six can have their one character trait, but also be threatening villains in their own right, and that especially applies to Zavok, who in the comics is not just a big, powerful guy, but an intelligent leader who has outsmarted both Eggman and Starline on multiple occasions. Hopefully Sonic Team looks at the comics and recognizes the potential that this bunch of colorful idiots has. that when you write a bad guy, you can't just have them say evil stuff and stand around giving orders. Have them make effective decisions. Have them be more than just a one-dimensional trait. And most important of all, have them be able to back up their words with their actions. Because otherwise, they're just a bunch of idiots who keep showing up because the game needs boss fights. In conclusion, for future games, I don't want to see Zavok. I want to see Zavok.